Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop. And this is my first impressions look on the Anta Shockwave 6, right? So if you guys didn't know, the Shockwave series is a shoe that Kyrie Irving was wearing last year, right? If you guys remember the Shockwave 5 Pro and also the regular Shockwave 5. So when Kyrie Irving signed with Anta after he left Nike, or they had their own kind of like fight or whatever, he was wearing this shoe, right? These shoes for a little bit. And of course, after he got his signature shoe, he was wearing the Kai 1. But this was kind of like his shoe, right? Or pretty much the Pro. But yeah, the Shockwave line has been actually pretty dang solid. And now the 6 has come out. And I feel like, Kyrie Irving, he is kind of like the chief designer, I believe it was. And he probably had a lot to do with the overall design of this shoe, right? I feel like he had a lot to say with the Shockwave 6. But also, the Kai 2 should be coming out soon, hopefully. And I did get this shoe on Kick's Own, so if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave a link in the description box. It does retail for 120 bucks over at Kick's Own. And also, if you guys do want to get these shoes as well, it's available there too. But yeah, the Shockwave 5 Pro was absolutely amazing. This shoe was freaking expensive, like 200 bucks. The regular Shockwave 5 was really nice, and it was like 120 bucks, I believe it was. And then the Shockwave 6 is pretty much the same, but also the Pro is available too, which I should be getting soon. But it doesn't seem to be that much of a difference from the Pro, the regular version to the Pro for the Shockwave 6. I mean, the traction is very different, right? They literally have a different outsole design, but other than that, it looks very similar. We'll have to see, because the main difference between the regular Shockwave 5 and the Shockwave 5 Pro was, of course, the cushioning setup, which the Shockwave 5 Pro was a lot softer for step and comfort because of the soft mesh showboard. Of course, the upper is different as well, but like on foot, it doesn't feel that different, right? But yeah, let's get it started off with the tracciones. In this colorway, we have a solid yellow rubber outsole, and it's pretty much like a herringbone traction pattern going throughout the entire outsole. And how does it feel? It feels freaking amazing, guys. Like, just trying it on my wood floors, it has a very nice bite and also a very nice loud high-pitched squeak. And yes, of course, squeak has nothing to do with performance, but I feel like there's a good amount of hoopers that like to have a nice loud high-pitched squeak. So I'm just telling you guys that, which is nice, you know what I mean? So I'm very, very excited to try these out because the traction feels really freaking good. And yeah, the Shockwave 5, like the 5 and the 5 Pro, right? The traction, the pattern was very, very similar, besides, I guess, in the forefoot, right? And they both had really, really good traction, but it did pick up dust, which kind of sucked. So hopefully the Shockwave 6 doesn't pick up too much dust, right? And it seems like it might be picking up a little bit of dust. Look at that. I guess I need to vacuum my apartment a little bit. But yeah, we'll have to see on that. I mean, the grooves are not super close together, so hopefully it doesn't trap dust and stuff like that. But of course, we'll have to wait for the full performance review. And for the durability seems really good, right? So they're calling it the DuraTrack Ultra Durable Rubber. And so, I mean, if it's ultra durable rubber, it's probably going to be very durable and long lasting on an outdoor court. And also, just by feeling it, the rubber is extremely hard. The grooves are deep and thick. So you should be fine on the outdoor court, which of course is a very good thing. And also, nothing that I kind of like is, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Nike Kyries, right? And there is a little bit of an outsole curvature. I mean, first of all, you can see the outsole wraps around the medial side here. So you have more grip when you're doing these types of movements, right? And also, there is a little bit of a curve shape, just a tiny bit of a rounded shape here, which is kind of like, it's kind of like the Kyrie 1, you know what I mean? Not like the Kyrie 2. The Kyrie 2 through 4 were very exaggerated, which I very much miss. But then the Kyrie 5 to like the last Kyrie, it was a little bit flatter, but there was still a little bit more of a rounded shape versus like the Shockwave 6. And also the Shockwave 5 did that a little bit too, which is kind of nice, right? So the Shockwave 6 traction is feeling really good, right? Now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels overall pretty dang smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice rounded shape, and also this foam is pretty much fully exposed, right? So that feels pretty dang nice here in the heel. And then moving here into the forefoot, we have a little bit of a curved shape, right? It's not super curved. A super curved forefoot would be like, you know, the Curry's, the Curry 11, Curry 12, Curry 10. It still has a nice curved shape, however, though, right? So from the shape, it feels very smooth. We have a very nice flexible forefoot, but Also seems to be a pretty springy as well. Not super springy, right? Like a full-length carbon fiber plate would be, but it does feel pretty springy, which does feel nice, right? And I feel like that also has a little bit to do with this plastic piece as well. But also we do have a midfoot chain plate. I believe it's only in the midfoot. I'm sorry if the tech is a little bit wrong. It's just hard finding tech on different websites. And if I found tech on the Shockwave 6, it's just all different, right? Every single website said something different. So it's a little bit hard to kind of give you guys like accurate information, but I'm guessing it's a midfoot chain plate. And because it is pretty flexible here in the forefoot, but torsional support does seem pretty good, right? And now moving on to the cushioning setup. The cushioning setup is pretty nice, and I definitely feel like it's a little bit of an upgrade from the regular Shockwave 5, right? So, of course, the Shockwave 5 had full-length N2 foam or nitrogen foam, and same thing with the Shockwave 6. It has full-length N2 foam, right? Which of course the Kai 1 is using, and Anta uses it in all of their, pretty much all their basketball shoes, right? The Klay Thompson's, the KT9 is using it, the Zap 1, you know, Dante DiVincenzo's signature shoe, the Kai 1, the Shockwaves, right? So they really liked N2 foam, right? But as far as this red foam goes here in the heel, it kind of wraps around. It's kind of like a carrier foam. I'm not 100% sure what this is, but it's probably just like an EVA. There's not that much compression, but it's kind of soft, you know what I mean? And of course, comparing it to the Shockwave 5, which was hella caged, it had pretty much zero compression here, right? So the Shockwave 6, that feels a little bit nicer, just in my personal opinion. It's a little bit softer from the outside of the shoe, giving you a little bit more compression. Also, as far as the insole goes, the insole is all right. It's not that nice. It's just a regular insole. It doesn't add too much to the step and comfort, but also underneath that we have a regular strobe board, right? And it's not super stiff though. It doesn't feel super glued down. It doesn't feel rock solid, which of course is nice. Just pressing with my finger, it does feel kind of soft, and it feels pretty similar to the Shockwave 5, right? The Shockwave 5, the regular one, also had this type of strobe board, so it feels very similar for the step and comfort. And if you also look at the Shockwave 5, like in the midfoot, there is a plastic midfoot chain plate, right? And I'm guessing the Shockwave 6 also has a midfoot chain plate that's top loaded, right? It's just plastics, because if you feel it here in the heel and also in the forefoot, it has nice compression, it's soft, but then feeling it in the midfoot, it's like kind of stiff, you know, it's probably just a plastic, right? So yeah, I mean, step and comfort feels nice in the heel and also in the forefoot, very similar to the Shockwave 5. But then one thing that I like about the 6 is that there is compression here, right? Of course, like I said, the Shockwave 5 Pro had a crazy soft mesh strobe, like it's absolutely freaking insane, you know? So you can feel the N2 foam in the heel and forefoot is super duper soft, and that's probably gonna be what the Shockwave 6 Pro is going to have as well, comparing it to the regular Shockwave 6. But honestly, this feels super duper nice, right? Step and comfort is still soft, it's still comfortable. We have nice compression here in the heel. Also, the core feel seems really good. Like, I compare it to the Sabrina 2 as well, which the Sabrina 2 has really good core feel, and it's pretty comparable, right? So yeah, the cushioning setup is really feeling nice, especially for guards. Not a crazy cushioning setup, you know, like if you want a crazy cushioning setup with a lot of compression, super duper soft, super comfortable, super bouncy. But I feel like for most people, it'll be pretty dang nice. So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper is pretty interesting, right? So we have an expansive mesh is what it says, right? An expansive mesh with string tech, which is just, it's kind of like embroidered on there a little bit, which also has high flex areas, which is pretty interesting because you wouldn't really want flex in your upper for a basketball shoe, right? But anyways, it's basically just a textile material pretty much, or like a mesh material, and it seems like it's double layered, right? So we have a layer of mesh underneath this, and then another layer of mesh which also has the string tech on it, right? It's kind of like this grid pattern here in the toe box, and also you can see with these black parts here in the toe box, that's just like an underlaying material, a little bit of fuse, you know, to add a little bit of support and durability to the upper. We also have a very thin layer of fuse going around the tip of the toe, also for extra durability and support, especially if you do toe drags. But yeah, it's just a really soft and thin material, which also feels pretty supportive. It doesn't feel crazy supportive because it is so thin and soft, but it also doesn't feel like it would be unsupportive, you know what I mean? It feels pretty nice so far. And also here on the lateral and medial sides, going around kind of like the eyelets, we have extra layers of the string tech material, right? And also you can see here in kind of like the heel area, we have a lot more of that embroidered material, and we have the Anta logo, and also this crazy kind of lateral piece, right? So it's just this plastic with the foam coming up acting as a sidewall too, which is kind of crazy. And then here in the heel, we have a very prominent plastic piece, right? So on the lateral and medial side of the shoe, and then in the back we have a synthetic material with this really crazy pattern on it as well, and this kind of like triangle tab here too. So overall, I mean, for 120 bucks, it feels really nice, and on foot it feels minimal yet supportive so far. So it feels really nice on foot, and also over the eyelets we have a pretty thick kind of like synthetic leather material right here. So that also adds a good amount of support to the overall shoe, kind of like, you know, the Dawn Issue 6 with that plastic material. It's a really thin material. That's what this upper kind of reminds me of, like the Dawn Issue 6, which is really nice, right? For example, like the Sabrina 2, it's just a really soft material with it, and it doesn't have anything that much, you know. It has that kind of like a synthetic material, but it's not as thick and as stiff as this, you know. So I really like how they added that. And also for the eyelets, they're like these straps that go all the way into the upper, so it also adds for a little bit more support for the midfoot area. And also the laces are pretty crazy. It's a really thick double layered lace, which I've never really seen before. It seems really high quality too, so I really like that too. And for the tongue, we actually have like a little bit of padding, you know, like I would say a little bit more than average, which feels nice and cozy on top of your foot. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then here in the ankle area, I mean, so here on the sides is very minimal. There's actually like no padding, pretty much, just a tiny bit. But then there seems to be a little bit more padding in the back of the shoe. It kind of cups in, which does improve the lockdown, but it feels kind of nice and cozy here in the back of the shoe. So overall, I really like it. One thing that I am concerned about, however, is the durability of this material, because it is so thin. But other than that, I really like it, right? And I definitely feel like it's an improvement from the Shockwave 5, although this was pretty dang nice on foot, right? But with this plastic, you know, I don't know if you guys can see, the plastic kind of frays off and stuff, which I didn't like, you know. But the Shockwave 5 Pro was a little bit better for the quality. I mean, it better be, because this shoe is freaking like 200 bucks, right? So there's that. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to size, and this shoe fits me like a glove, just like the Shockwave 5, but it feels a little bit more relaxed as far as the width goes, right? So lengthwise, my toes go very close to the edge of the shoe, which is very nice for length. Also here in the toe box, it's a pretty nice snug fit. It's not super snug to the point where it's just like very, very uncomfortable. For example, like in the Giannis Immortality 4, like I've been playing in that shoe and it's just choking my foot out, even though I went true to size, and it's still like really, really freaking tight, you know. But this shoe is a little bit more relaxed, but still kind of snug here in the toe box. I still feel like this material is probably gonna get a little bit roomier once I break it in, right? And for the width, it is, okay, so here, it's like a little narrow, but then here in like this part of the forefoot and also in the midfoot, it actually kind of stays pretty snug, right? I could definitely feel it squeezing the sides of my foot a little bit in the midfoot, and also here in the forefoot. So just be careful with that. It is a little bit narrow, but it's not anywhere where it's like choking my foot out and I'm getting needles in my feet. I'm sure once I play in it, it'll be fine, but right now it's a pretty nice snug fit. So if you like a nice snug fit, then go true to size. But if you want it to be a little bit more relaxed, you should be fine going up half a size, right? So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, it should be really nice. You know what I mean? I mean, it's made for Kyrie. I mean, the Shockwave 5 was made for Kyrie Irving, and I'm sure he had a lot to do with the design with the 6. And he's doing crazy lateral movements, crossovers, cuts, step backs, you know what I mean, Euros. So yeah, you need very good, or he needs very good lateral support. And I wonder if he's gonna wear this shoe though. I wonder, you know. But anyways, here in the forefoot, I mean, it doesn't look like it, but it actually does come up acting as a sidewall with this foam. So yeah, you're covered here in the forefoot, also here in the midfoot, and then here in the heel, of course, we have this external heel counter. So lateral containment feels like it'll be very, very good. And also, like I said, the overall upper, even though it is really thin here in the toe box, it does feel pretty supportive because of the added kind of like patches of synthetic leather here. So it feels overall very supportive for lateral containment, especially here too for the upper. The lateral stability feels good too, right? It does protrude out a good amount, acting as a very nice wide base. So lateral stability seems good too so far, and also I'm not really experiencing any type of heel slippage or anything like that. And yeah, the Shockwave 5 was very good too, right? We have plastic coming up acting as a sidewall, and also here in the heel. So yeah, the 6 feels really nice. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, I feel like this shoe would be pretty dang light. I'm guessing like 11 ounces, right? Yeah, wow, 11.2 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 11.1 ounces. So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So it's almost an ounce and a half lighter than average, which is very, very lightweight, which is nice, you know? Comparing to the Shockwave 5 Pro, which is like 11.9, so basically 12 ounces. And then the regular Shockwave 5 is going to be 12.8 ounces, right? So they actually did shed off a good amount of weight, and I feel like that has to do with the upper, but I definitely feel like the upper, they made it a lot more minimal feeling, you know what I mean? But also it still feels pretty good for support so far, you know what I mean? I mean, I haven't played in it yet, but so far it feels pretty nice. So I'm liking what they did overall for the brand new Shockwave 6. So there's that. Moving on to the aesthetics. I don't know, guys. It looks weird, you know, especially with this. This is the most striking feature about this shoe. And I think they're just doing a little bit too much, especially with the embroidered and all these patterns on the shoe. I'm more of like a simple design type of guy, you know what I mean? So I think they're doing a little bit too much for me personally. And also there's embroidery here on the tongue as well, which is, I mean, it's a nice touch, you know. Embroiders are, it's a little bit more expensive to produce, you know, but I think they're doing a little bit too much for the design. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, the shoe's feeling freaking amazing. Traction is feeling top tier. The cushion is feeling really nice, especially for a guard, like a really responsive setup, low to the ground, while still having pretty nice step and comfort, and probably gonna have pretty good impact protection too. The upper feels extremely minimal. I really like the kind of subtle outsole curvature that it has. It's a lightweight shoe and feels supportive overall. So it feels like it'll be a very, very, very nice guard shoe, and I'm super duper excited to play in these. Of course, we'll have to see on two things. I'm worried about two things a little bit, you know, the durability of the upper, and also the traction performance on dust. But other than that, my first impressions of the Shockwave 6 are, I'm very, very impressed. You know, it feels really nice. So anyways, that about concludes my first impressions look on the Anta Shockwave 6. Again, if you guys do want to copy, I try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.